Okay, we're looking at page 117. And we're going to be learning about Venus Flytrap right now. There you can see by BBC One we're provided a video of a Venus flytrap, and it's just kind of eating the sap on the plant on the Venus flytrap, and then it closes up, as you can see right there. There are over 220,000 species of plants on Earth. Of those, 590 are carnivorous, meaning that they eat other living things. Plants such as a Venus flytrap catch their prey as food. So fly, sometimes different types of insects, as you can see right there. Okay? Write the fraction of species of carnivorous plants in simplest form. So we have 590 carnivorous plants out of the 220,000. So right here, what we'd like to do is write it as a fraction. So we have 590 right there, right? Out of 200,000. Now, let's see. Let's take off a zero of each one. In order to take off a zero, remember that you have to divide it by 10, each number. Okay? So that brings us down to 59 out of 22,000, right? Now, from this, we can simply find out what the decimal is by taking the top number and dividing it by the bottom. So really what we're doing is, now that we've simplified it slightly, we can take that number and take the 59 right there, and we're going to divide it by 22,000, which is quite a big number, right? And we know that there are no 22,059, so what we have to do is we put a decimal there and a decimal there, we start with a 0. And then we have to add how many zeros? I believe 1, 2, 3 will give us 59,000, right? So we can work with this. So I have to put a 0 there and a 0 there. And now I can say that 59,000, 22, there are two 22,000 and 59,000. So there are two of them, okay? And that would give me 44,000, right? 44,000. And when I subtract, I see that I have 15,000 left. But there are no 22,000 and 15,000, so I have to add another 0 and bring it down. And now I have 150,000. I should multiply this by a number until I get as close as I can to 150,000. I know that if I multiply 22,000 times 6, okay, I'm going to get 132,000, right? And when I subtract, I will have 18,000 left over. Okay? But I'm going to stop right there, because I've gone much before the way past by the hundredth. Now I'm in the 10,000s. 10, 100, thousands, 10,000s. I'll stop there. Now I can say, and I can write it down, that I have 0.0026. Okay, and that's going to be approximately, because I want to round it to a simpler form. I know that this 6, if I want to round it to the thousands, this 6 is going to change the thousands because it's greater than 5. So if I just get rid of that 6 right there, I want to get rid of it, it's going to change my 2, the value of 2, because it's greater than 5. So it'll be 0.003. Okay? And for number 3, we're being asked to write this as a fraction. Well, that's simple, boys and girls. It's 3 in the thousandths place. 3 thousandths, right? There it is, 3 thousandths. That's how you write it as a fraction. Now let's reflect again on the title of the lesson before we do question 4. It says that we're going to work with percents greater than 100%. So 150%, 200%, and so on. And percents less than 1%, between 0 and 1. So you might have a fraction of a percent. Okay? Right here we're going to have a fraction of a percent. Watch this. Since 0.3 is 30%, right? You guys remember that? 0.3 is actually 3/10, and then if we want to switch it over to out of 100, we add a 0 at the bottom and we add a 0 at the top, so now it's 30 out of 100, 30%. Okay, this is just a quick review. And this is 3% because it's 0.3 out of 100 in the 100th place, right? Which would be 3 per 100, 3%, right? Okay, what percent is equal to 0.003? Decimal 0.003. Well, if we keep going on this pattern, we have to go one decimal place further. Here we have 30%, right? And when we add a 0 to it next to the decimal place, it's 3%. So if we're going to add one more 0, that means the decimal place, boys and girls, is going to move over one more time. Here it moved this way once to get this. It's going to move over one more time. So if you're thinking that your answer is going to be 0.3%, you are correct. Please look at the pattern and analyze it. Okay, I just drew it out for you. Decimal 3 is 30%. This is the easiest one, the one we're most familiar with, right? And then this is the second one we're most familiar with. 3 in the 100th place is 3 out of 100, 3%. But 3 in the 1000th place is actually not even 1%. It's 0.3 of a percent of the 1000th place. Okay, so as you can see a pattern here, when the decimal is right next to the 3, it's 30%. When it's 1 0 away from the 3, it's 3%. When it's 2 zeros, then it's decimal 3%. So don't forget that we always multiply the decimals by 100, which moves the decimal place over 2 times to make it out of 100. We multiply by 100 to make it out of 100. So this will move over twice, which makes it 30. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit more. There we go. And when here we move this one 2 more times, right? 1, 2, which makes it 3. And again, times 100, 1, 2, it's going to stop right there, as you can see there. Copy all 3 of these examples down, please. Copy all 3 of those examples down and put a star on it. That is a key answer. Okay, before we move to the next example, I want to show you something up here for a second. Remember that when you have a decimal, for example, decimal 3, to turn it into a percent, okay, to turn it into a percent, we have to multiply it by 100. So that when I multiply 0.3 times 100, okay, it moves the decimal place over to the right by 2 spots. So it would be 30. And then we can say percent. Okay? But when we do the other way around, when we want to take that 30% and turn it into a decimal, we divide by 100. Okay? So now the decimal place is going to move over 2 spots the other way, like that. Okay, over here and move 2 spots to the right. Now it's moving 2 spots to the left, essentially making the number smaller because we're dividing it 100 times. So now it goes back to being 0.3. So don't forget, to convert to a percent, we multiply. To convert back from percent to decimal, we divide. So keep that in mind. So with that being said, let's get to work. Okay, you can go ahead and look at those examples on your own if you want more clarification. But the way I explained it is, if you're going from a percent to a decimal, which is what we're being asked to do, each percent as a decimal, right? Then percent to decimal, don't forget we're going to divide. Okay, so we have 0.25%. Okay, divide by 100. Okay, we have to divide it by 100. That's going to move the decimal places over 2 to the left. 1, 2. So that it becomes 0.0025. That's what it is as a decimal. Okay, that's what we're being asked as a decimal. And then we have to write it as a fraction in simplest form. If I were to write this as a fraction, we have to count the place values. We have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So it's actually 25 over 10,000. Holy moly. How do we simplify this? Okay, well, we know that they're both divisible by 5, or we can also say by 25. Okay, we can count by 25 until we get to 10,000. And if you do, or you just want to use a calculator, you'll find that there's 1 at the top and 425s at the bottom. So it's 1 over 410. And those are your two answers. This is written as a decimal, and this is written as a fraction. B it's slightly easier. We take our 300%, and don't forget to go from percent to a decimal, we divide by 100. Okay, so that means it's going to move the decimal 2 places over, 1, 2, and we have 3. So our answer is 3, right there. We have 3 in as a decimal. That's a whole number. Okay, and as a mixed number or fraction, well, it's just simply 3 over 1. It's 3, 1. So it's 3, your answer for this one. Okay, and 530. We divide it by 100, and you know that the decimal place is going to move over 2 places, 1, 2, and we have 5.3 is our answer, okay, as a mixed number or a decimal. And if you wanted to write it as a mixed number, you know that the 3 is in the 10th place, so it would just simply be 5 and 3/10. Okay, so here it is as a decimal, 5.3, and here it is as a mixed number. Okay, example 3, we're going to move to a word problem now, and we can see here an example of it. And like I said, you go ahead and read your example in your book to make sense of it, or just continue, or do both. Continue to work with me, okay? The more you expose yourself to, the better. Now, here we go. The stock price for a corporation increased by 0.11%. So this company's stock value increased by this much. So approximately 0.1%. Write 0.11% as a decimal and as a fraction in simplest form. Well, boys and girls, we know that 11%, sorry, not 11%, 0.11% needs to be divided by 100 so we can turn it to a decimal, which is going to move the decimal place 2 spots to the left. So it becomes 0.11. It moved 2 spots over. It used to be here, and it moved 2 spots over. So that's what it is as a decimal. And then if we write it as a fraction, we have to see where it is. Here's the 10th, 100th, thousandths, 10,000ths. So it's going to be 11 over 10,000. It's in the 10,000th place, right? And that's it. That's all. Just there's your decimal and there's your fraction. Okay, let's continue on.